Good morning, and to those of you in Sweden, good afternoon, I guess, those of you in Kenya or elsewhere, to the seminar or the webinar, A Growing Bioeconomy in Kenya, Opportunities for Kenyan and Swedish Business-to-Business Collaboration. Before giving you a short introduction to what we're going to do in this webinar, I will just give you an overview of the presenters today, where we have Jonas Tesfaye from the Pangea Accelerator, who will give you the reasons why we should invest in East Africa and Kenya. We have Winfried Chiari from Business Sweden, talk about Business Sweden's activities in East Africa and Africa. And we have Tom Walsh, CEO of Renetech, a Swedish company with large operations and engagement in Africa. And last but not least, we have Linda Davis, CEO of Giraffe Bioenergy, one of those very entrepreneurial bioenergy, bioeconomy companies in Kenya, giving her perspective of doing business in Kenya. So with that, I'm just going to give you an overview of the webinar objectives and the project Advancing Bioeconomy Development in Kenya. And my name is Ivar Regin. I work at the Stockholm Environment Institute and SCI, which is a government-funded, started independent and non-profit research institute, working with transforming or turning science into action for sustainable futures in various type of areas. And SCI has a number of centers, we have headquartered in Stockholm, Sweden, but we also have offices across the globe, and one of our offices is in Nairobi, Kenya, and this is where we run and have the project Advancing Bioeconomy Development in Kenya. SCI, we've been for a long time been involved in supporting bioeconomy development globally, Latin America and South Asia, and not least in Africa. We're part of the BioInnovate Africa program, SIDA-supported program, which is the #1 bioeconomy incubation platform, I would say, in Africa. We have supported the East African Regional Bioeconomy Strategy, and we also do the State of the Bioeconomy in Eastern Africa reports, where we've done one report in 22, one in 24, and in doing one in 26 now. And we have also co-hosted the Global Bioeconomy Summit in Nairobi, which took place in October last year. Now, how do we define the bioeconomy? It could be appropriate to give you a background to that or a definition. And a usual definition that is used is the knowledge-based production and utilization of biological resources, biological processes and principle to sustainably provide goods and services across economic sectors. To me, I think the key thing with the bioeconomy is innovative and sustainable value addition to bio-based resources and including biowaste. And sometimes the bioeconomy is expressed as the green part of the circular economy. Now, the bioeconomy in Kenya is to a large degree, I would say, working in an inoptimal manner, and there's a room for improvement there. We have a fairly low level of value addition to primary biomass produce. We have fairly inefficient biomass value chains, and we have a limited use of agriculture and biowaste and biomass residues. So there's a need to develop new value chains to agriculture and forestry produce and converting waste and useful product. And there's a lot of it, both in terms of produce and in biowaste. And to catalyze that, to do that, bio-based businesses and enterprises are essential. But in order for them to be propelling the Kenyan bioeconomy, they need access to local, regional, and foreign markets, and be part of various type of global and regional national trade networks. They need to strengthen the know-how to do this value addition, bioprocessing technologies and know-how, etc., and functional business models. And there's a need for platforms and arenas for business-to-business collaboration and joint ventures, both nationally, regionally, and internationally. And as every company, they need access to venture capital and credit facilities and sharing risks. So taking you a step back then, looking at the global development agenda, we've seen that we have a strengthening, or we have a push for a strengthening of the synergies between aid and trade. And this is not least expressed in SIDA's new operational strategy, which reflects the Swedish government's reform agenda, where trade, investment, and global competitiveness are essential features. So SIDA today collaborates with Business Sweden, Swedfund, and the Swedish Export Agency and the Swedish Export Credit Corporation, and sometimes called the Team Sweden, which is then to strengthen the synergies between aid and trade. And this is really what the Advancing Bioeconomy Development in Kenya, the ABTK project, does to a large extent. We are in this project mapping bio-based sectors and micro, small, and medium enterprises in Kenya and Sweden. And we are supporting the development of bioeconomy roadmaps for different bioeconomy-based SMEs, roadmaps with visions and targets and how to get to these targets and visions. And the project is providing a platform for Kenyan and Swedish business-to-business collaboration. And we support the bioeconomy in development in Kenya through various type of interventions, reports, and various type of workshops, etc. Now, we have these ABTK bioeconomy clusters and the road. So we are supporting 4 bioeconomy clusters and their development of roadmaps. One is on value addition to primary produce and circular food system. And this is value addition to various food crops, traditional crops, agriculture and fish, livestock, microbial products, value addition to those type of resources. And then we have a group on bio-based agriculture inputs, biopesticides, bioinducers, biofertilizers, etc., which is a growing industry in Kenya, important. And then we have the bio-based industrial products cluster, which are looking at industrial bioeconomy applications, biorefineries, etc. Bio-based biodegradable packaging material is one of the key things here, and bio-based construction materials. And then we have a group on sustainable energy, bioenergy, which is looking at biomass briquettes and pellets and biogas and biofuel from various type of biomass producers. So these MEC clusters are also based on the key strategic areas in the East African bioeconomy strategy. So this is a very short introduction to the speakers today, and giving them a background to the project. And I will get back in the end of after the presenters, giving you a bit more background on what we will do in December, which is a bioeconomy innovation fair taking place in Kenya, Nairobi. So I will get back with that. But for now, I give the word to Jonas. So I'll stop sharing here and I'll allow then Jonas to share his presentation.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ivar, and happy to speak to everybody. I hope you can all see my presentation. So I look forward to speaking about advancing bioeconomy development in Kenya. I will also touch a little bit based on what's happening in other parts of the region. Just a little bit about myself. So my name is Jonas Tesfaye. I'm the founder and CEO of Pangea. We are an investment company that invests in African impact businesses. We started off with technology, but we have expanded quite a bit to also include hospitals and water treatment factories and school, democracy festivals, and other interesting stuff. I have a degree from Lund University, Melbourne. and corporate experience from Ericsson, Procter & Gamble, Swedfund. And then I sit in different boards. Most interesting is probably the innovation agency in Kenya, VI Agroforestry, or Viskogen, as you might know it for. We like planting trees. And then also something around Our Blue Future, which is for those here that are interested in the blue economy sector. This is an initiative by EU covering 10 countries. Either way, with that said, let me get started. So as Pangea, our mission is developing the next generation of African entrepreneurs, or the co-founder every startup wish they had. So we worked with over 370 startups so far, about $35 million in funding, a lot of different applications and stuff. The past years, we've done maybe 15 accelerator programs in over 10 countries. And then we work with a lot of development partners from SIDA to the Nordic ones to Japanese, South Korean. I mean, basically, we know a lot of the people in the ecosystem. And again, all the businesses we work with, they need to have a very positive impact, both towards planet or people, preferably both, as an impact type investor. And then I just want to do a shout out for our lead investor. They call Asini Capital. They're a family office from Norway. They're really amazing. So if you don't know about them, find out who they are. To them, we also have a few common projects like Learnio, which is enabling financial independence, or Lisa Hospital, which is a leading hospital in Kenya on maternity services. As investors, and I just want to have this as a transition side, because again, we've been doing this for 8 years now, but one of the early investments we did when we were naive was getting a bunch of Nordic investors to invest in African startups. And people thought, are you guys joking? Or, is this a good deal or not? Yeah, now we can tell you 8 years later, we're looking at 2,800% return of investment. We got an exit opportunity where people wanted to buy us out, and we actually told them no. So we kept 100% of our shares. We didn't sell anything, even though we had an opportunity of almost making 30 times return. It's not necessarily the stories you hear associated with Africa, but this is the truth of it. Here are some of the startups we work with. Jijenge Makers, I think, has been very high profile. They take waste products and turn it into construction material. I think she was appointed by UN Environment as a World Earth Champion or something, like a role model for the Gen Z generation. Agritech Analytics work with different satellite imagery and using technology for sustainable agriculture. Again, very good cases of how you can use technology to further development of bioeconomy. Grow Agric, more on the financing towards sustainable bioeconomy. Or Meiseltile, they're currently working with MIT. They basically take agriculture waste and turn it into tiles like this, and for affordable housing. Amazing business. Duca, building cold chain logistics for the blue economy culture. So don't forget that fish is also part of the bioeconomy. And seaweed, fish, all of those blue stuff. A lot of opportunity, but we do have some challenges also. So what's relevant with Duca is the fact that they're building cold chain logistics and other kind of stuff, which is important for this sector to truly grow. Or AquaReg, which works more on fish farming methods and other kind of efficient ways of working towards that. So I just wanted to showcase a little bit about who we are and so on. So now more towards you. So what I believe is this, because I know quite a bit about Swedish companies. I worked in a lot of them. I grew up in Sweden. And what I believe is that in 10 years' time, many Nordic companies, including Swedish, will regret not focusing on the African market already in 2025. Okay? I do believe that, because I do believe that we have a perception of things are not really growing, etc. In my viewpoint, look at China. When most Swedish companies enter China, it was already too late. Getting in early is a good thing. And Sweden has like most multinational corporations per capita. So I feel like managing risk is something that we should be good at. But basically, we want to change this story. So why is this? So unlocking a 1 trillion opportunity is what we're talking about. This is business opportunities. So Africa's green transition, growing digital economy presents a huge opportunity. Nordic companies struggle a little bit, but that doesn't mean that we can't reach it. So what are the challenges we see? Yeah, it's a fragmented ecosystem that many experience. So it's difficult aligning. Some say that it's a high market risk, for example. Some might say innovation disconnect or the missing hub. Like, how do we link? You know, other stuff we hear a lot of why Swedish companies are not joining is because, yeah, perceived risk is considered high, lack of inside data, lack of local partners, opportunities for profitability or scale is a little bit unclear. These are the usual stories you hear about. But the way we look at it is actually, when you are a Nordic company and you're sitting on a great thing, then usually you start off by launching it in the Nordics, right? That's where you go first, the home market. And it's also a profitable market. And then you go to Europe and then North America and then Asia. And once you basically have done all of the world, that's when you come to Africa. So that means that it takes like 7 to 10 years before the good stuff comes here, even though the opportunity is actually much better. So what we want to do is make it easier for Nordic companies to actually enter the African market much earlier. And how can you do market testing exploration? Because you don't want to wait too long. Because we're not talking charity here. We're talking about market position, opportunities, and extra stuff. So people need to start looking at Africa as a market destination. Hence, this stuff matters. Okay. So right now, the challenges has been success stories, receiving funding in terms of how do we identify partners, etc. What we want to do as Pangea, just to clarify, is that we're looking at this model and we're saying this is actually an opportunity. And how can we as Pangea, if we have already identified a market opportunity for a Swedish company, or we already have government regulations approval in place, we already have customers in place, is it possible for us to then collaborate with Swedish businesses within bioeconomy and just plug in immediately? So creating a low threshold arena for awesome Swedish technology and solutions to enter the African market. I'm just inviting you guys, if you're interested in exploring this, we are curious to also explore this. So if there's somebody who feels this to be relevant, then you can reach out to me. My contact information is at the end of this presentation. Now let's go into the good stuff. So why should you enter the African market? And is this a good timing or not? My answer is it is. The first argument, the EU Global Gateway. EU have invested 300 billion euros into Africa. This is part of what Ivar said about SIDA, switching to becoming more trade focused. It's tied to the EU Global Gateway. So EU is going in massively with capital to de-risking for European companies to engage on the African market. Use this opportunity. Because if you think that risk is the main element, then EU will help you lower that risk. If not, actually be able to do an abracadabra and make that risk disappear. So now you actually have no reason to engage because the risks are reduced. Forestry sector, why is this important? If we look at a country like Tanzania, deforestation is about 500,000 acres a year, 500,000 acres, okay? African continent has a deforestation rate which is 50% higher than the Amazons. Did you hear that? Africa has a deforestation rate that is 50% higher than the Amazon rainforest. Most people don't really associate with that. Now, what does that mean? We have a huge opportunity to engage in ecosystem restoration because this deforested land, we can actually use that land to now set up a forestry industry because we are not self-sustaining when it comes to timber and forestry. It can create insane amount of jobs. Swedish companies are basically dominating in this space. Actually, the stock of trees in Sweden has increased with 60% since 1950. So we know how to create revenue streams using carbon credits. We know how to do value addition. We know how to grow in a sustainable area. And then you have this continent with massive areas that are ripe for this kind of opportunity. So forestry, for me, if anybody is sitting and listening, please come here. Let's make stuff moving. Another area is blue economy sector. This is a $300 billion economy. So 38 out of 54 African countries have a coast. 90% of import-export to Africa happens through shipping, ports, okay? This space is, it's a blue ocean space, to say it the least. I don't think I have time to go into all the potential areas from aquaculture to seaweed production to But just saying, this is a huge opportunity within the bioeconomy space in Africa. Let's move to the next opportunity area. And why is this a good time? So there's something called the Africa Free Trade Agreement. The ambition of this one is basically to create like a African EU where you remove like tariffs, ease of moving people, goods, and all of that. Because currently, African countries don't do a lot of trades with each other, even though they're neighbors. So European countries, I think 70% of the GDP is intra-country business. Africa is like 17%. So we can grow the African economy 500% simply by doing more trade with each other. Yep, you heard it. So Africa Free Trade Agreement is an initiative to make it easy for any business to scale and grow, etc. Because right now, scaling from one country to another comes with a lot of headaches. Again, this is African Union heading it. So I'm hoping that they are able to get this implemented as soon as possible, because it's really needed and will make trade and working towards Africa a lot easier, because now it will be a one market of 3.4 trillion instead of 54 markets of small economies, right? Boom. So obviously that would make it a lot easier. So this is a good timing. China factor. I know many don't want to talk about China, but we have to. China as a country is the biggest trade partner. They do trade for about $300 billion a year. They import African goods for about 120 billion. To compare this with US import African goods for 40 billion. So China is already 300% larger than US. So if you think US is a big dog, they're becoming smaller and smaller every year. What's interesting with the China factor is China is committed towards zero tariffs on Africa, and they want to import goods for the future for about $8 trillion a year. So they're saying, listen, while Trump is coming with all his ridiculous tariffs, we can guarantee you that there's going to be no tariffs. We want to buy from Africa. So China is popping up as probably the largest single market for African products. That means if you're now a Swedish company and you want to produce stuff, you might actually want to look at how can we produce things in Kenya, both for the Kenyan market, but also for the Chinese market. Because products coming out of Kenya most likely will have no tariffs when it goes to China, while European products most likely will. Just saying. Last part, green minerals to fuel the green transition. It's not bioeconomy, I don't think. Maybe there's a way to have green minerals in bioeconomy. I don't think, at least not now. Maybe there was bioeconomy at some point. The thing is this, US, Europe, China, we're all going to go towards green transition. But to be able to do that, we need minerals to fuel it. Those minerals, many of them are on the African continent. So for the first time, the global economy is not engaging in Africa as like CSR or charity. They have to collaborate with Africa because of these green minerals. And by not doing it, then China will dominate rare earth minerals and green minerals, which Europe and US can't handle. And that will cripple their economies. So Europe and US is coming in heavily because they actually need to have a fair and long-term relationship with Africa. Otherwise, transitioning into green economy will be difficult. Just saying, it's an interesting perspective to just have in the back of your mind. Yes, with that said, I hope you all feel inspired, got some ideas of where is Africa moving and why is this a good timing. If you want to reach out to me, this is my contact information. I can also post my LinkedIn at the chat. Yes, with that said, thank you so much, Ivar, and then I hand it over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jonas, and for this inspiring presentation with all the reasons of investing in Africa and Kenya. Thanks a lot. And Jonas, you provided your contact details there in the chat, and for those of you that are want to contact Jonas, you can also reach out to us, and we'll forward the contact to Jonas. Right, go. Next presenter in line is Winfred Kajeri from Business Sweden. So Winfred, please, you can share your screen.
Yes, sure. Let me know if you can see my screen.
We can, let's see now, it's coming up, yeah. We see it. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. And it's okay. It's in presenter mode.
It's in presenter mode.
Good. Hi everyone. My name is Winfred Kiarie. I'm a consultant at Business Sweden Nairobi office, and at Business Sweden I work with the East Africa region. That is the 7 markets or so. And with Business Sweden, we in Africa we have 4 offices. Recently opened the Lagos office. We also have an office in Casablanca and Johannesburg in charge of the different markets, Southern, Western, and North Africa. And so today I'll just give a brief introduction of us as Business Sweden and how we can support Swedish actors who are in Sweden or those that are in Kenya or in the different regions, and also looking at the overview of the Kenyan market in terms of the bioeconomy, and also highlight some of the opportunities that we see for Swedish companies. So to start us off, Business Sweden supports Swedish companies grow their global sales, and international companies invest and expand in Sweden. So for us who are in the different markets, our work or our mandate is to support the Swedish companies in the different markets. So in terms of the markets that we are in, we got to 50 markets this year. So, and I can see Lagos has not been updated, but Lagos is our latest market. And with regard to the sectors that we are in, we support the transport sector, energy sector, new materials, digital technology, life science, and creative industries and food. And these sectors are based on what the Swedish companies or expertise they are in the different industries that Swedish companies are engaged in. So in terms of people or personnel, we are more than 400 people. And this is a multinational team that collaborates across the globe with expertise rooted in business culture and network. So in terms of our services as Business Sweden, we have our services are divided into 2. And that is because as Business Sweden, we are partly owned by the government of Sweden and also the private sector. So with the private sector mandate, it's in consulting services. And for us, consulting services has it's a cocktail of 4 things. One of them being market expansion, where we support companies in market entry strategy, or market check, and also sales channel setup. We also support with the sales acceleration. And sales acceleration, we mean supporting the companies that want to maybe get a distributor by distributor search or partner search. And this will be based on what profile you're looking for as a company. So based on the profile that you give us, then we go in to check who is best suitable for you. Then we have the business to government. And given that Business Sweden is the Swedish Trade and Invest Council and part of the Embassy of Sweden, we work very closely with the embassies in the respective markets. And for us, we support with the stakeholder engagement, business to government strategies, and stakeholder analysis. Then lastly, for the consulting services, we have what we call business support services now. It was previously business incubation and operations, but now it's still the same thing, just called business support services. And for business support services, we have companies that would want to engage in the market, but they want maybe a sales representative. So what we do for them is first provide co-working space, and also payroll services in case you want to have someone who's based in the region and they can sit with us, and also employment and HR services. Yeah. Then lastly, when it comes to our services for government-enabled services, we have business delegations and events, where we work closely, as I mentioned, with the embassies, and also small business programs, which could be incentivized by the government of Sweden to support any Swedish company, depending on the size of the company, to either have a market check or B2B engagements, or just set up meetings. So anything that could support your business in the different regions, and you are a Swedish company, then we are your gateway to the markets. So Business Sweden does not work alone. We work with what we call Team Sweden, and Team Sweden is a strategic network of government authorities, financing institutions, and Swedish companies, all aligned around one mission, which is driving sustainable development through strategic or strong partnerships. So this, how it looks like is for Business Sweden, we are the program managers, and basically bringing together all the different government authorities, financiers from Sweden to understand any bankable projects that are there and see how we can all work together. So for the financing solutions, we have our EKN, that is the export credit guarantees. We have SEK, and also for feasibility studies, we have SWEG Fund. And when it comes to capacity building, we have NIR, and also for any policy advocacy, we have the local embassy support. So as I mentioned, I have been working with the Stockholm Environment Institute for the past few months, and with support of the bioeconomy mapping out in Kenya. And we thought that it would be good for us to give a practicality of how Team Sweden looks like, and how, what we mean by support in the different clusters that were mentioned by Ivar. And I will just highlight two. So with the insight that we got, so from our end, the project looked like working with the Swedish actors in Kenya that are in the bioeconomy space to understand what's their perspective on the business climate in Kenya, and also understand how, as Team Sweden, we can continue supporting them. And so this is based on the insight that we got from the different Swedish actors locally, and also categorizing it in the different clusters. So for Team Sweden support here, it looks like for Business Sweden, bringing together or matchmaking different entities or MSMEs that could be in dairies or agro-food processing. For SWEG Fund, it looks like co-investing in local processing facilities. And then for CEDAs, it's providing guarantees. And NIR is training the cooperatives and technology adoption support. And for the embassy, it's policy advocacy. And especially for the bio-based industrial development that has been facing a lot of challenges with addressing high taxation and regulatory overlap. So I think to understand the opportunities in Kenya, and especially in the bioeconomy space, we must, and I thought it would be good for us to have a look at just some of the market overview of the agricultural space in Kenya. So agriculture contributes 33% of Kenya's GDP, and this comes from and 40% of the total population is employed in this sector. And when you look at the rural counties, the percentage is higher, which is now at 70%. So, but when you look at our land, the land is the 20% of the land is only is suitable for farming, while less than 7% of that land is irrigated. Most of this is rain-fed. Hence the challenges or the vulnerability that we have with climate change. So this is just to say that our agriculture is strong, but the opportunity and responsibilities to move forward beyond primary production into resilient and value-added bioeconomy solutions exist. So our foundation is good. We just need to get more innovative solutions and work together to ensure that this is achieved. So with that in mind, with the agricultural context in mind, we already see that Kenya's bioeconomy shift from small pilot projects to commercial scale solutions in several high impact sectors. And I will just highlight 3 of the sectors that I think would be relevant for the Swedish actors. And one is agri-inputs, and the second will be modern bioenergy, and lastly, waste to value. So when it comes to agri-inputs, and in this case, we are looking at the biofertilizers and soil health, soil degradation in Kenya affects almost 40% of our land. And a lot of the fertilizers that we get is imported and also very expensive. So as a result, farmers are increasingly turning to locally produced biofertilizers and biostimulants. And this is where we see potential for Swedish expertise, especially in precision fertilization and circular nutrients recovery that can help to scale the local models. When it comes to modern cooking and bioenergy, we see that there's a lot of also Swedish strength in biogas optimization, safe ethanol technology, and grid integrated renewables. And lastly, looking at the waste to value models, we see that Kenya's extended producer responsibility legislation has shifted waste away from landfills towards valorization. And we now have local companies turning organic waste into fertilizer, into pellets, and into insect protein, which is employing hundreds and expanding regionally. So we see that there is opportunity, especially for Swedish circular manufacturing technologies and business models that can help to generate these regenerative systems. So looking at our bioeconomy, I thought that it would be good for us to just highlight some of the key trends that we see, the challenges, business opportunities for Swedish farms, which we have mentioned previously, and then the outlook. So as Kenya's bioeconomy continues to transition, we can see that as we are moving from pilot to scale, and there are several trends. And one of the main trends is the rise of food insecurity in Kenya. And this, as we had mentioned, our agriculture is dependent on rain. And because of climate change, there's been a lot of vulnerability for our farmers. The second key trend is growth in agro-processing zones and cold chain logistics. And thirdly, the rise in digital finance tools, hence financing across the value chain. When it comes to the challenges, we can see that there's 40% of Kenya's agricultural produce being lost in post-harvest, and an equal share in biomass ends up in discarded as waste as well. And then there's also the significant financing gap in bioeconomy ventures, which is coupled with high taxation and outdated industrial infrastructure. But as we say, where there's challenges, there are opportunities, and we see opportunities and capabilities for Swedish farms, especially those that are in agri-tech and mechanization, looking at solar irrigation and as well as smart farming tools. Also, there is opportunities in value chain processing. That's with our dairy, with coffee, packaging, and cold chain solutions. Then we also see that there are also opportunities in digital traceability solutions, and this is in food safety and logistics visibility. And lastly, for forestry and biodiversity, where we are seeing sustainable timber as well as carbon trading and afforestation. And these are some of the key sectors that, at least as Business Sweden, we have engaged with different companies, Swedish companies in the bioeconomy space, mostly startups, and also research institutions. So agriculture, as we mentioned, remains the backbone of Kenya's economic transformation agenda. And this is embedded in our Vision 2030 and the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. So what we are seeing here is a clear picture that Kenya needs solutions that not only add value of the ecosystem at large. So finally, we will talk about the opportunities for Swedish companies. And these opportunities, we have highlighted them into just 5 key opportunities, of course, not exhaustive, just keeping in mind of our time. I would just like to mention the 5. So, and one of them being that for Swedish companies that want to enter into the market, they need to consider to partner with partner locally. It could be with county governments, it could be with operators, so as to deliver turnkey solutions. And when it comes to investments, another recommendation is to invest early in biofuel and fuel infrastructure. It could be in safe storage or blending and quality systems for ethanol and biodiesel. Thirdly, to bundle hardware with financing. So leverage clean cooking innovators like Coco Network to scale up distribution rapidly and expand inclusion. Then the fourth one is align with emerging standards for fuels, for appliances and industrial specs. And lastly, blend revenue streams. They have product sales plus carbon credits plus performance-based guarantees, grants to reach affordability. So by combining these innovative solutions, financing, and strong local partnerships, Team Sweden can turn Kenya's bioeconomy into a global benchmark for sustainable industrial growth. And this can also be done with the help of us as Business Sweden, who are in the different markets. We can support you in the market, handhold you as you maneuver through the different aspects of the Kenyan market or whichever market you're interested in. It doesn't have to be Kenya. It can be any East African markets that you would be interested in. You can reach out to me or my other colleagues that are in the different markets. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Winfried, for that introduction of Business Sweden or overview of Business Sweden, also and insights into how to how to enter into the Kenyan bioeconomy market. We have one questions and a short answer, Winfried, and that's from Ola, asking any example of Swedish company that have done well within the Kenyan market and perhaps Business Sweden has helped along the way. Do you have a suggestion there?
Yes, I have an example of a Swedish company that we supported in the climate tech industry. They were basically interested in stakeholder engagement with some of the sugar milling companies. And their solution was a technology that turns biogas into biochar. And so for us, our support to them was map out who are the key stakeholders and what licensing would look like for them, and also for them to set up in the region. So that is one of the...
Great, thanks. And Ola, if you want more info, I guess you can contact Winfried, and I will share the contact details also with you. Okay, thanks, Winfried. Thanks a lot. We now go to our third presenter, which is Tom Walsh from at Renetic. Please go ahead, Tom.
Sure. Can you see my screen?
We can.
That's great. Thank you very much. Great to be here. Good to see you all, and wonderful to be talking about the bioeconomy in Kenya. And what I would say first, obviously, that it's quite dynamic at this point in time, both in Kenya and also across East Africa in Tanzania and also Uganda. There has been a lot of change in the sector, I would say, in the last 5 or 6 years, led by, let's call them a new breed of Kenyan entrepreneurs. A lot of them under 35, and who have embraced aspects of the circular economy. And also, we've seen some rapid expansion around black soldier fly in terms of producing protein, both for pig feed and chicken feed, and also different types of biofertilizers. So I think those are very positive developments. Let me see here. I'm trying to get my next slide. Yeah. Okay, great. So just briefly on Renatec, we've been around 20 years, been focused very much in terms of project development up to the financial investment decision for, I would call them bioenergy and bioresource projects using a variety of different technologies. Just to show you, for example, here you see the cocoa pod husk. I hope you can see it on the screen, and then I can show some biochar here, which is produced from not the cocoa pod husk, but actually the bean itself, around the cocoa bean, which makes up about 15% of the cocoa pod husk. Now, obviously, that's more relevant to West Africa. And also we have been involved. We do a lot of technical consulting for a number of different financial funds, I would say. Here's a brief list of some of the projects that we have been involved with over the years, and you can see sugarcane mentioned in there. You can also see biogas production, Uganda, etc., biochar production. Just a quick look at some of the project locations. So a very strong emphasis in terms of sub-Saharan Africa and parts of Europe. Some of our company references, which span private companies as well as financial institutions and indeed public entities. So I thought what I might do now is maybe just talk around a series of different case studies. I thought that might be quite useful, particularly for Swedish companies that may be thinking of engaging themselves in the East African market. I mean, we did our first project around biofuels back in 2007, 2008. So it is, 18 years ago. It's quite a long time ago. But this is just one case, which was a mass energy balance part of an environmental impact assessment for ethanol production from sugarcane. And this is a mass energy balance. It shows inputs and outputs. It shows what happens 1 ton of cane in terms of a variety of different products that it actually produces, including ethanol, which is 75 liters from a ton. We have fertilizer products. We have the vanasse, which is almost a cube or a cube of material which goes back to the field in terms of providing fertilizer. You have bagasse, which is going to the boilers in terms of providing heat and steam for the process. And of course, you can also produce electricity from that. And interestingly, there is bagasse, which is a waste product, actually being today being converted, which was going to landfill, which is now being converted, mined actually, and is producing a very high quality pellet, which is being used for domestic cooking in a gasification cook stove, which is something that has been launched over the last 2 years. So I just want to give you a feeling as well for that, there has been a lot of change in this sector, and there's a lot of positive developments in the last 3 or 4 years, which I think can be something that you can take encouragement from in terms of actually engaging. One of the sectors that we're quite involved with is the institutional cooking area. And we do this with our partner Ecobora, which is the manufacturing facility is in Kajiado County. It's about 150 or 120 kilometers from Nairobi. But here you can see a kitchen which is the kind of the traditional biomass boiler cooking, and institutional cooking is a particular issue because it uses a very large amount of biomass on an annual basis. In actual fact, in Kenya, it's the second biggest user of biomass after the tea industry. It also has a fairly high operational cost for the individual boarding schools. And of course, there's about 1.6 million students in Kenya that depend on daily for their food at schools. So that's an area that we have been working on. over the last 8 years. I would say we started from a blank sheet, and successively we have been expanding the portfolio. The intention now is to look at producing a pellet boiler for use in the institutional setting. A lot of these, I mean, there's about 22 installations that there is 22 installations that across Kenya that have been installed, and you might say, well, that's 8 years. That's a long time for 22, but you know, if you start on this business of going through the innovation cycle, all of the trial and error, it takes a much longer time than you actually would think. So you need, if you're engaging, you can pick whatever sector you like in terms of transition. We have decided to made a decision to focus on the institutional market and to provide a variety of products to meet people's needs. And I'll talk a little bit as well about what are the actual issues and the areas of collaboration. I think if you are going to engage in Kenya or Uganda or Tanzania in the bioenergy sector in the transition, yeah, it's very good to pick out a partner to work with. And funnily enough, Justin, who is the CEO of Ecobora, he contacted us by phone. I think it was 8 years ago, and that was the start of our collaboration, which was based very much at the beginning around systems design and innovation and trial and error and producing a variety of different products. And that collaboration has continued. Now we're looking more at the supply chain in terms of particular components. This is something that I discussed a little bit with Ivar a couple of weeks ago, is that and is an opportunity for Swedish companies on particular components that they may be using in other industries like the car industry and so on. And we have found that it can, if you some of these suppliers are in multiple sectors, they're doing 300 different prototypes, and when you approach them, they find this particular area very interesting, the institutional cooking, not least because of the impact from a social and an environmental perspective. And then obviously you have the carbon finance, and the carbon finance is, if you're doing a business like this where you're moving from an OPEX expense to less of an OPEX expense, the CapEx investment is higher. So you obviously have a financing challenge, and there it's not just around the innovation around the technology, it's also innovation around the financial model. So there are multiple issues along the way. So I don't want to underplay the challenges either, because there are challenges, and you need to be aware of them, whichever venture you decide to work with. I mean, after sales service is an issue. I mean, Kenya is quite a big country. If you install a system in a remote area, and something happens, that particular facility, particularly if it's in the cooking area, because it basically can't go down because it has to be used every day. And some kitchens are working on a 24/7 basis because they may have 800 students or 2,000 students. And it's quite expensive to send a couple of technicians to a site that could be 6-7 hours from Nairobi, and they will have to stay overnight and fix the issue. So you need to take that into account as well. You're at your sales service. You need to think about your sales. You need to be your sales cycle. Your sales cycle, I think, can be quite long. I remember we just installed a facility which was near Mount Kenya, and I think our first email on that was in January of 23. So that's almost a 2-year sales cycle. So you need to plan your business that you optimize your cost structure so that you're in it for the long haul. This is it's for the brave, so to speak. So you need very patient capital. You need to be extremely patient, and then there's a lot of trial and error as well along the way. It does get quicker, as you know. The first one is the hardest. It's definitely the hardest, and then number 2 is easier. Number 3 is easier again. Number 4, and number 5, etc. And then just, I thought, well, what are some lessons around the bioeconomy energy projects in this region? Because we've been at it for some time. Things do take time, and you need to take that into account. You need to spend a lot of time in getting to know people and the business development aspect. So for a Swedish SME, obviously that is costly. But I normally say that for every one meeting that you would have in Europe, you need to have 4 face-to-face meetings from a Kenyan perspective. So FaceTime is very important in terms of building up the relationship, and you need to take that into account. The challenge of financing is ever present. If you're borrowing money at a local bank in Kenya, you're at 16% to 22%. So the cost of finance is expensive. So you need to look at the financing and maybe not perhaps have, if it's a local business, not have too many loans or very little debt in the business if you can manage it. Have a very good local partner, get to know the local partner. In some cases, you build the business jointly over time. Also remember that most businesses in Kenya are family-owned businesses, and they may not be open to investment, while they would be open to other forms of finance, and they're extremely long-term orientation. I would say in the bioeconomy, there are numerous different opportunities at this point in time. It's a question of really implementation and working that implementation. You can pick any sector you like, and if you do the business plan, the financial model, the first version of it, it may not look obvious that you are going to get a return on investment. But if you keep at it and you do many iterations over time, you will see a model or a finance model that is going to work. So I'd encourage you to do that, is to take the various different small steps that you need to take. And if you take step 1 and step 5, it'll become more obvious what step 6 to 10 is. So that's a little bit on some of the lessons learned. I also just wanted to mention innovation, because I think it's quite important. And this is a framework. We do a bit of work as well for the International Energy Task 39 in terms of biofuels for the decarbonization of transport. And this framework is a framework that we published actually in April of this year, which is it's a downloadable report on the marine sector in terms of the challenges for the adoption of biofuels in the marine sector. But we use this framework, beaker to bucket to barrel to bunker, and it's actually quite useful because you can look at any aspect of feedstock, you can look at any aspect of technology, you can look at regulation and standards, you can look at implementation and investment in these different areas. And if you take the area beaker to bucket, there you're looking at research and development. I can take an example from East Africa, from Kenya, like the hyacinth. Well, we take the hyacinth and we say, well, we want to produce ethanol out of the hyacinth. Now, that is not something that is done today. It's something that's very embryonic. It's probably something that needs to be looked at in the lab in terms of the types of processes that you would engage with. And that's where we talk moving in terms of the innovation cycle from beaker to bucket. But then when you get to barrel to bunker, you're in large scale production. Just to give you an indication of investment, beaker, these are just high level figures. You're talking about maybe $500,000. Bucket is $5 million. For example, if you're looking from anaerobic digestion through to catalysis to produce methanol. Barrel is there, you're in actual implementation and all the issues around a particular project development, like site regulations, permits, and so on, and project financed, including the SPV. There is maybe $50 million. And then in bunker, we estimated that for marine biofuels, there would need to be an investment of $8.5 billion by 2030 in order to meet the additional demand in terms of the marine sector. But these are areas also that are open to Kenya in terms of the bioeconomy in the future, and they certainly have advantages in terms of the availability of feedstock to engage with these particular areas. Just maybe to finish up, I'm going to finish up shortly. In terms of impact venture resilience, I think these are some of the points that I'd like to leave you with. One thing around installation, I remember when we were doing some of the early installations, and this was in Namira Kisi area. You need to be conscious of different cultures, different languages. You have a team of people that might be doing some construction work. Site engineer, obviously, would need to be English and Swahili speaking, but also the local language, and then most of the people working on the site will be speaking the local language. So it's very important to take into account different cultures, and that's a regional issue as well from a Kenyan perspective. So I think slow burn rates is a key. Remember to stop and start, very important. Your business can stop at a point in time, so you need to have a low cost of operations to continue for the long term. And I mentioned already patient capital. And remember as well, event plus response equals outcome. So whatever the event is, the response can be different. So always please think that you can have 4 or 5 different responses to the events to give you 4 or 5 different outcomes. I think that can be very helpful going forward. And then I'll just finish with the Jack Canfield and the success principle 15, which is most of us have big dreams for our lives, but when we think about everything we will have to learn and experience to make those dreams a reality, our fears can overwhelm us. Give yourself permission to acknowledge and experience whatever fear shows up along the way, and take action anyway. Take one small step after another into the unknown, and you will be surprised at how quickly the path forward will become clear to you and entirely achievable. This is from Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles. So I think the bioeconomy has a bright future, and I would encourage you to engage with it, and I wish you every success. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Tom, for this inspiring insight into doing business in Kenya and for those final words and citations. So, Linda, I leave the word to you now. Last but not least, Linda Davis from Giraffe Bioenergy. Please share your screen there. That's the last presenter, and then I will present the Bioeconomy Fair event in December, inviting you to it. So, Linda, please share your slide. So there's Linda. Hi, we can see you. And now We don't see your slide yet, but I think it's coming.
Okay, great. Can you see me?
We can see now. We see your slide and we see you.
Oh, fantastic. Look, I have never been more excited to come after the four speakers that have gone before me. And honestly, I would spend my 15 minutes responding to how much I resonate with everything that has been spoken from Jonas and the opportunities in the green economy. I mean, this is just made for me. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I really hope you can see that through line from what Winfred has shared, and Tom. So super, super excited. I mean, talking about working in semi-arid areas, I mean, that is what you're going to hear from me today. Talking about, forestry. We're talking about bioethanol in Uganda. Super, super excited. So I feel like I should go to my prepared presentation, but just responding to the previous speakers is really what I want to do. But hopefully those will come through with Giraffe Bioenergy. So I'll start very quickly. Who are we? So first and foremost, thank you for inviting me to share a practical example of of how we are participating in growing the bioeconomies in Kenya. So, okay, advancing my slides. Okay, why am I having a challenge there? Okay, there, oopsie. All right, so starting with who we are, Giraffe Bioenergy is establishing large-scale cassava agriculture as a platform for food and ethanol fuel production. And this is for families that are transitioning away from charcoal and firewood in urban and peri-urban area. And as Giraffe Bioenergy, we consciously and intentionally elevate the role of women as vital drivers in the economic development. In a nutshell, if you go to our website, what we say is we're developing bioeconomies. Really, that's what we're doing. And our chosen way is exactly what I've just described. Growing cassava in semi-arid areas, refining it into ethanol cooking fuel, and distributing it in urban and peri-urban communities. Winnie mentioned Cocoa Networks, which is a large-scale ethanol distributor working with 1.2 million households, right? So I'll explain to you why our work is important. So very quickly, what is the problem that we are solving? We believe there's a missed opportunity in Kenya's bioeconomy. The previous speakers have put that in very broad and interesting terms. But number one, we've got a high demand for ethanol. Now, 50% or over 50% of this ethanol is imported from the global markets. Now, let's remember, ethanol is an agricultural product. Kenya has the land, the skills, the demand. Why are we importing an agricultural product, making other farmers richer? Farmers in the United States, Brazil, Pakistan, Mauritius. Yet we can grow this product ourselves. So in a nutshell, if you take nothing else, that is the problem, the travesty that Giraffe Bioenergy is solving, right? So the missed opportunity is we have the demand here, yet we're importing ethanol. Number two, there's food insecurity. Kenya imports over 6 million bags of corn, maize, which is our staple. And we are saying that with cassava, right, growing cassava in semi-arid areas, and I really love the map that Winnie showed, we've got large amounts of land, which is not agriculturally leveraged. So with a drought-tolerant crop like cassava, we can do two things. We can grow cassava to supplement our main food value chain, which is corn. We can blend maize or corn with cassava and be food insecure and keep that forex in-house, number one. Number two, excess cassava can be used for ethanol. Quick refresher, ethanol is an agricultural product, as I said, and you can make it from sugarcane, as one of the speakers mentioned, but you can also create it or make it from starch, right? And it is always a surplus product. So As I said, there is a real opportunity to tackle a big problem at scale, and that is the lack of clean, safe, affordable cooking fuel. Tom and his team are thinking about EcoBora, which is an electrical cooking system, but there's an opportunity for ethanol as well, and I'll speak about the policy. Now, since I'm speaking to my Nordic brothers and sisters, I must get ahead of this issue. I am always asked, food versus fuel. Linda, if you're going to take cassava and make a fuel out of it, are you not going to be starving the children of Kenya? So let me get ahead of that debate that I believe is not based in fact. So number one, ethanol has always been, in any jurisdiction, a surplus product. In the United States, first they feed the people, then they feed the animals, then the surplus is then taken into the ethanol value chain. And by so doing, you are catalyzing increased research, increased yield per hectare, etc., within the agricultural value chain. The same is repeated in Europe, where excess wheat is used for ethanol. The same is repeated in Thailand. Excess cassava is used for ethanol. In China, excess cassava and maize is used for ethanol. But for some reason, when it comes to Kenya and Africa, we are not allowed to make our own rational decisions. For some reason, the global north, and I'm speaking very candidly here, will say, but cassava is a food. I do not want to invest because the people of Kenya are going to starve. So let me start by saying this. As astute potential Swedish investors or partners, Kenya does not, for example, value cassava as a food crop. I wish they did, because as I said, the semi-arid land, we can use that land for ethanol, but they just don't. So at Giraffe Bioenergy, when we grow cassava at large scale, we're talking 5,000 acres, enough to build our first biorefinery. Immediately, that crop is surplus. There is no local market for it. The bill in Parliament that is supposed to blend cassava into maize has continuously failed. Why? Because there's no supply. And there's yet to have the acceptability of cassava into Kenyan palates. For whatever reason, Kenyans just don't want to eat cassava. But myself, I get challenged and immediately have a policy thrown in my face saying that you are taking food from the mouths of children and making ethanol. So I really want to get ahead of that component, and there's more justifications, there's more I can say about this, but the food versus fuel debate for some reason is over-indexed in Africa, and we do not look at precedents in other countries as well. Okay, so moving on. So what are we doing here? So clean cooking energy, right, is cleaner and healthier than charcoal and firewood. Brothers and sisters in Sweden, you might not know that the lack of clean cooking fuel, charcoal and firewood, is the leading driver of three things: poor health for women and communities, because women and girls and children bear the responsibility for cooking. And cooking in a smoky kitchen with charcoal and firewood is a leading driver for pulmonary disease, cancer, etc. Right? So just by this intervention, we would have real results in health. Number two, the lack of clean cooking fuel is a leading driver of deforestation, right? In Kenya and in other parts of Africa, especially when you look at the charcoal component, right? So number four is also just climate change, right? 45% of nationally determined contribution in greenhouse gases is from charcoal, is from cooking with biomass, right? So the first is in the transportation fuel, right? We burn our petroleum very inefficiently. You know, I ride around Nairobi city, you can see why. But the second is our neighbors who are using charcoal and firewood for cooking, right? So by just providing clean cooking energy, and I would argue catalyzing local agriculture for ethanol cooking fuel, then you're able to kill three birds with one stone: health, environment, climate change, and most importantly as well, the livelihoods. We must not forget the livelihoods. Point number three, we really have very impoverished communities who are subsistence communities, as previous speakers have shared the data. So if we can provide a commercial product, a commercial agricultural product that puts money in their pockets, and especially into the pockets and wallets of women, then we are seeing the uplifting of communities. And that was what gets me up at night, every morning. So, as I said, we can solve clean cooking energy, we can solve food insecurity, and we can improve livelihoods by investing in the cassava value chain. And cassava grows in semi-arid areas. Okay, so that is the rosy story. What exactly do we do, right? As it has been said by the previous speaker, Tom, I'm just laughing thinking about all the challenges that you raised up here. But many say, when you are building in Africa, you first have to build the infrastructure. Things do not work as streamlined as you might want to, right? You have to work within the rhythms of culture. But most importantly, you have to work within building the underlying infrastructure before you can build your business. An example I like to use, if you have an amazing matchmaking product, say you want to, do a delivery, Shopify, for instance, you don't have to build the road network. You don't have to build location. You just go to Google and you get their location services. You don't have to build any of that. You just put in your solution and off you go. In Africa, oftentimes, you have to integrate vertically to really create that ecosystem for your building for your business to thrive. In the case of Giraffe Bioenergy, there were no cassava seedling systems. The cassava seedling system was under-researched. Again, Kenya does not value cassava. So therefore, the government did not put enough research dollars or whatever into the seedling system. So my PhD in microbiology biotechnology is specifically in the conversion of feedstocks into ethanol, right, for transportation or cooking. That's my expertise. So when I migrated from 20 years in Australia, in the US, working in the ethanol industry, I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I'll come to Kenya and we'll build a biorefinery. I'll ask the farmers to grow cassava for me. I'll give them an offtake agreement. I will come 12 months later when that cassava is ready. I will pick it up and I will refine it and I will produce ethanol cooking fuel that will be distributed to these communities. Shock on me. Not only is there large-scale cassava agriculture in Kenya, there were no seedlings, right? So that was a natural jump-off point for an entrepreneur who is faint-hearted, who does not have the courage and the encouragement that Tom has just given us, right? So we had to start from the beginning. We had to develop the seedling system. In other jurisdictions, that is the province of government, right? So we sat with the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. We started with literally 3-4 plants, and we had to put in innovative technology to rapidly propagate those cassava seedlings, right? So then, and we're doing this in degraded land. I'm so excited that the speaker spoke about irrigation and how a large percentage of our land is not irrigated. So we had to bring in irrigation. We had to build in seedling systems, right? Even in the semi-arid areas, right? We were getting 50% of historical rain averages, right? So our beautiful models, our beautiful financial plans and everything suggested that we could be irrigating cassava for a few months in the year. But the reality on the ground is we had to have irrigation throughout. And that obviously has an impact on our capex that we needed, right? So anyway, we've been able to successfully develop the seedling system. And I'm happy to say right now, Giraffe Bioenergy holds the biggest seedling nursery for both food and fuel. And we're ready to distribute that to partners who want to work into the food security system. They can come to us. We'll give them certified, drought-tolerant, disease-free seedlings, right? Did not exist before. Remember, I came to build a biorefinery, but here I am, a farmer, right? So just moving on really quickly. So why we stand tall, as I said, we are pioneers. We are Kenya's first approach. Those are pictures of our women working in our farm. We literally put a world-class laboratory in the middle of the semi-arid areas in rural Kenya. Okay, so I really want to speak to this, right? And I know there's jitters around, does Africa have stable frameworks and the regulation there? I can speak to the ethanol markets, I can speak to the clean cooking markets. We are guided, right? But the Ministry of Energy has put in the Ministry of Energy has put in the Kenya Ethanol Master Plan, which shows a roadmap, right, for 12 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in this area, don't take my word for it. We have the government documents that are putting their money where their mouth is when they're saying, we want universal clean cooking for all Kenyans by 2030. And here's a roadmap. 50% of Kenyans are targeted for LPG. We can argue net zero, importation, etc. Okay, we'll leave that behind. Excuse me, sorry. So then the second one is ethanol. So 30%, 4 million households are targeted for ethanol cooking fuel, right? So then that is the play where we're working. 10% are in are for electricity, electrical cooking, the eco-borers of this world, and then the balanced sustainable biomass, right? Okay, and that is in the National Cooking Transition Policy. So we do have the stable policies that underpin our business stability, right? So again, it's just some pictures here. We have a Center of Cassava Excellence. This did not exist in Kenya. We've pioneered cassava research. That we've got a large-scale demonstration farm, and next year we are scaling to 3,000 hectares. Everything is in place. We're ready to go. Okay, so here's our approach. We partnered, as I said, with Ayata. We innovated. We are an inclusive company. It's not just about Linda being rich. It's about bringing whole communities together, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, creating livelihoods and creating rural, thriving bioeconomies. And then we have, really good results to show. So again, pictures of our laboratory. This is 50 minutes off the coast of Malindi, an hour away from Nairobi, in the rural area, but we're really bringing those dignified jobs into these areas. As I said, we've got a certified nursery. We can actually catalyze both food and fuel. I cannot overemphasize that. And I really hope you'll be advocates with me. It's not either or, it's and, yeah? Food and fuel. So we've trained in the local community. We're really guided by that conscious impact. Let's all rise together. Let's make the necessary investments in training, in really bringing women up and really bringing those that do not have as many opportunities as we have. This picture here to the bottom left, these are women watching a TV, right? Sorry, I didn't, it's been cut off. And we show the women the global economy for cassava. They're looking at women in Thailand, in Nigeria, really being part of this global economy, an opportunity they didn't think actually existed. And this is how we are growing the bioeconomy in Kenya, right? And we hire people at above minimum wage. We're bringing dignity. And the way we can do that is by moving away from subsistence farming to provide commercial opportunities as well. We can pay a good wage. We remain very close in contact with the experts. As I said, I'm a microbiologist, ethanol, but we stay we work with the farmers as well. Okay, so where are we at, right? I really want to close on a couple of slides. So we will be scaling for the first 15 million liter homegrown cassava to ethanol cooking fuel biorefinery. And we're doing that by establishing cassava at large scale. By doing so, we will have seedlings for the people that want to do food, who want to grow cassava for food, including the women that are here. Again, ethanol is a surplus product. It is not a primary product. We're not in conflict. Who's going to eat today? Who's going to make fuel? That is not an argument that is actually based in any fact. We are so excited, ladies and gentlemen, and our Swedish brothers and sisters who are looking to invest in Kenya. Jonas has told you, I will repeat, invest today. In 10 years' time, the opportunity will have passed you. We already have a 21 million debt term sheet signed. We are looking into 10 million in equity. We're in conversations with interested party who want to join us with the 10 million. This tells you we've gone through due diligence, we have a wonderful data room, we know what we're doing. So we would really hope to have some people stepping up and wanting to syndicate with us for the 10 million in equity. Really quickly, if this was not obvious in my comments, we'll start producing ethanol in Q1 2027. The market is already there, right? We're building agriculture and biorefinery. Sales and distribution is there. So call to action again. Let's create jobs, invest, farmer incomes. You know, this has been said by the other speakers. Absolutely wonderful opportunity. Here we are, the senior management team. We're about 20 that work on this job, and there's about 200 from the local community casuals that join us every single day in really making this a reality. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Linda, for this exciting presentation of giraffe bioenergy and what you can do with cassava, the gem of Africa. Sometimes it's sometimes referred to. Let's see. I'll share my screen because I want to give you present what we're going to do next here. Yeah. So all the speakers, I think, talked about finding partners, collaboration, and dialogues, and how to sort of move forward, developing businesses, but also engaging in the bioeconomy development in the region and in Kenya. So the great opportunity here is for all of you. You're all invited to the Kenyan Sweden Bioeconomy Business Innovation Fair, which will take place in Nairobi in December 8 and 9 this year. I'll just give you a very brief. Here you see the agenda for the first day with lots of presentation on the different aspects of the Kenyan bioeconomy and the different. We talked about these roadmaps of the various bioeconomy classes. They will be presented here as well. We will have a panel. Linda, you will be there as well. We'll have Business Sweden there as well, talking about all the opportunities in collaborating, moving the bioeconomy forward in Kenya. And then there will be an exhibition and a fair for all of the companies, Kenyan and Swedish companies present in Kenya, and Swedish companies in Sweden wanted to come down to Nairobi and present their businesses and find partners and dialogue. So with that, in a sense, I'll leave you just saying that you can register for this fair using this link in this slide, and we all of you that are registered, we will forward that link to you as well, so you can register. And the link is also available on our webpage, the SAI webpage, which you see here. There is also, I want to mention that the fair is free, it's no cost. You can all join. For those of you traveling, we have a limited number of travel grant opportunities available for Swedish companies wanted to come down to Nairobi at the fair. And if you want to explore that opportunity, you can mail me or Alice at the mail addresses down here. And also you have in your invitation to this fair or to this webinar, you have our mail addresses as well. So this is an invitation for you to further explore what all of these speakers talked about, the opportunities to engage in an exciting, advancing bioeconomy in Kenya, and also in East Africa, I would say, in the region. So with this, I want to close this webinar saying great thanks to Jonas, to Winfried, to Tom, to Linda. Great presentations, and I think you've given the flavor of Kenya and all the opportunities, but also some of the challenges and the way to address those. So with this, I say goodbye and see you in Nairobi. And please get in contact. And we will share this seminar. Seminar will be shared on YouTube, and the presentations will be shared as well. So you can see them afterwards if you want. They will also be available on our website, and I hope, Winfred, maybe it can be shared on the Business Sweden as well website. And Linda and Tom and Jonas, you're also welcome to share it on your websites as well. So again, thanks a lot, and take care, and see you in Nairobi.